Hey there, it's Jordan. I am here in Louisville, Kentucky, where we've been for 2 days now. We're in Injustice Square, which was named that after the murder of Breonna Taylor, but it is eerily different this second time we're here. We were here last summer. So different, which we're going to talk about. You know, we decided to come back here to Louisville, cover a lot of things, including evictions that have been going on despite the moratorium, homelessness, corruption, because there's a lot of that here. But we also wanted to continue to keep Breonna Taylor's name in the news because, I don't know, call me a naive journalist. I kind of think it's still a scandal that a black woman was murdered while in bed. That evidence came out that there was a cover-up after the fact, and nothing's been done in terms of justice. I'm with Bianca Austin. We spoke last summer, I think, and you and Breonna were very, very close. So I want to first, before we get to the developments and the continued pursuit of justice, just a basic, how have you been? How has your family been? I know it's kind of like just trying to keep going on, but how has the family been?
We've been okay. You know, it's exhausting, but you know, we take it one day at a time, take it for what it's worth, and just try to stay focused and just kind of be there for each other and figure this out. Yeah.
And I want to get to like physically where we are. So when we came, it was popping. Injustice Square, there was protesters. Day we got here, 7 cop cars rolled up for an umbrella they wanted to take down, which, you know, they were basically trying to screw with the protesters. But this is where people came, you know, community, organizing, all that. And now, empty.
It's empty.
And I want to read this sign here. The Louisville police don't want you to see the face of the woman they murdered. Breonna's Memorial was created by the community to honor a life taken too soon. For over a year, the Louisville Police Department has brutalized and arrested those that come to demand justice, to heal, to mourn, and to be in community. Each morning, the entire memorial is set up by volunteers and must be removed every night by order of the city government, or everything in Injustice Square is taken to the city dump. Until there is justice for Breonna and significant reform, help us make this sacred, historic space permanent by reaching out to Metro Council representatives, the mayor's office, and city departments. Demand justice, make them hear the people. So basically, they've run protesters out of here and started making you set up and break down every night. And you were telling me that they did take stuff to the city dump. Can you kind of talk about what police have done to drive people out of here?
I mean, well, every day they came out and, you know, they harassed us. They gave us like a curfew. And it just got to the point where it was just overwhelming, exhausting, and it was just continual arrest. And, you know, I don't want people to just continue to get charges brought up on them just for being out here, you know. So we had the memorial up. I believe it happened twice, but the last time they came at like 4 o'clock in the morning, took everything. They had dump trucks, garbage cans, you name it, tore it all down, took it to the city's dump. And then it was just like an outcry, like, what's going on here? Like, this is not bothering anybody. Like, we don't understand, like, how, you know, this, I mean, I understand it because they don't want to see the blood that they have on their hands and be reminded every day that they come to work. I get that. But at the same time, it's like, you know, a life was taken. This is where community, this is where we come to pay our respects and, you know, just be a community out here and just try to pursue justice for Breonna. So it's really heartbreaking, you know, we hurt.
I just follow facts. And if it smells like a cover-up, if it quacks like a cover-up, it's a cover-up. So just to remind the audience, if you don't know, essentially the state attorney general, Daniel Cameron, who's very connected to Mitch McConnell, by the way, there was a grand jury. A grand jury is supposed to technically be independent from the attorney general. The grand jury Daniel Cameron in September came out last year with basically a bunch of lies that the grand jury agreed with his determination that there was no criminal charges. There was nothing applicable in Kentucky law to charge Officer Mattingly, Officer Cosgrove, who shot at your niece, Breonna, and killed her. But then the grand jury came out after the fact, basically saying, first of all, the Attorney General did not present all the evidence, so basically they hid evidence from us. Secondly, the Attorney General did not give us the option of charging criminally. So basically it was the Attorney General's decision, pretending that the grand jurors had a choice. 3 grand jurors in January have filed for Attorney General Cameron to be impeached over this. He also lied. He said that in addition to the police saying that they announced a no-knock, they announced themselves before barging in there. They said they had, a neighbor that confirmed this, even though that neighbor, first of all, there's 12 other eyewitnesses that said, no, we didn't hear them introduce themselves. But that neighbor at first said he didn't hear anything, but they called him back and essentially coerced him to change his story. So all these things are just very straightforward. It's very rare you hear from grand jurors. It's supposed to be a secretive process. So with that, and essentially the Attorney General was lying, what has the family, your lawyers, people tied to this, what have you been trying to do since then? Because it seems to me there's evidence that there should be either a new grand jury or a new process, because the grand jury wasn't provided all the evidence and they weren't even given the option to charge these officers criminally.
Everything you said is correct. So currently, Sam Aguiar, Lenita Baker, they hire private investigators to go in and just oversee a lot of things that oversee this case. And mind you, the DOJ is here in town doing their own investigation, and we're also waiting on the the feds to wrap up their investigation as well. But
the FBI.
The FBI, and currently, Tom Wine, he still is able to prosecute these officers. The reason why Daniel Cameron came about is because Kenneth Walker had murder charges against him, and so it was kind of like a conflict of interest, right? And so now that those charges have been dropped, Tom Wine can very much so bring these officers forward and hold them accountable.
Tom Wine is the county prosecutor?
The county prosecutor. So, we're just putting pressure on him as well to, come forward, do the right thing, and prosecute these officers. And then hopes to, if we can't get him to do his job, we're going to take it, to a federal level. We want to go to Washington and see if they can help us out, there as well. So it's just a journey. It's mind-blowing that we have to go through all these steps and processes when the evidence is there that clearly this was a cover-up, it's corrupt, and they assassinated Breonna Taylor in her own home.
And I also want to ask you, I'm learning more about this as I'm here. There's been some local media attention, definitely not national attention. It seems that the whole reason they were even targeting Breonna was the city government, some real estate folks, some nonprofits had their eyes on a certain block, Russell Avenue, on the west side of Louisville. West side, very poor. On that block, a very majority black community. On that block, there was abandoned homes, this and that. And essentially, there was a $1 billion investment program. They love to say revitalize, gentrification, what I call economic terrorism. Long story short, there was one house on the block that they couldn't get, and that was Jamarcus Glover, who they alleged was a drug dealer, and they tried to make a connection between Breonna and him, and despite evidence that there was no drug paraphernalia being housed at Breonna's apartment for him, the U.S. Postal office came out saying we didn't find any evidence that mail there was drugs or anything like that. So it seems like this was a gentrification scheme, and they were trying to get Jamarcus Glover's house, and they brought your niece into it as kind of that connective tissue. But the mayor's office, there's also emails showing the mayor's office was speaking with the police department about this one specific block and this one alleged drug dealer. That is a scandal, but what has been done about that?
And mind you, this drug dealer is like nonviolent. He's a nonviolent, just a neighborhood kid, you know what I mean, that's been in trouble. And then to add insult to injury, the city bought that house for $1 on Breonna's birthday in 2020, to add insult to injury to that. So, and then currently Joshua Jane was fired for lying on a search warrant.
Police officer. The
police officer, Joshua Jane. He was currently fired, which now he is, what do you call it? He has his, I can't think of the word.
He's spoken out against basically blowing the whistle.
Basically a review, like to get his job back. So he's currently had one session, and I think his next hearing is on the 24th. So I think it's this coming Friday. And just the audacity for him to even go in front of a board to ask for his job back is just crazy. Especially after you lied on a warrant that cost my niece her life. You know what I mean? So.
And what was his lie on the warrant?
He lied and said that she was receiving packages to her apartment, that that there was packages coming to that address. So, and that after the post office, the chief of the post office stated that there was a lie, he continued his lie, mind you. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
There's another element here. So I don't want to get too in the weeds, but essentially the Louisville Police Department set up this new division called the PlaceBased Initiatives. I don't really know what that means, but it was basically an initiative to target specific types of crime, blah, blah, blah. They said they were using Nevada and somewhere else as a model. But shocker, the first area they were targeting was this Russell Avenue, where the city and a nonprofit were trying to redevelop, meaning we got to seize all the properties, demolish them, do whatever to them, and then do whatever they wanted to do, which was probably build condos or apartments or something, gentrify. So the first target of place-based initiatives was Russell Avenue. And it also came out that, this place-based initiatives unit created a map of potential drug sale targets, and it was said that that's the first time that they were targeting Russell Avenue, but evidence came out that they were targeting Russell Avenue before that map. So it seems to me, and this individual you were just talking about, the police officer, he said the reason place-based initiatives was even doing this was the mayor's office wanted them. So basically, you have the mayor's office, who, by the way, takes a lot of money from real estate developers. For some reason, there was this new police unit set up to target this one block, and you even have the police officer saying we were doing it at the direction of the mayor's office.
And let's be clear, they raided this same house 3 days prior. So they knew what it was like a cat and mouse game going on with these neighborhood kids and the police. So for them to say, like, they set up this, they knew exactly what they was doing. They know exactly who was where. It was cameras everywhere. It's evidence, clearly, that they was taking these, Jamarcus Glover had been to jail previously. They raided his house previously. So it just don't make any sense. And then just to find out that the mayor's involved in this, and for him to act like he was just clueless and oblivious to what was going on is mind-blowing. Like, the whole system is just corrupt, and it just all needs to be dismantled.